guilty pleasures, movies, and books.
Yes, and as always, we do want to touch on some upcoming closures and events. One event you definitely don't want to miss is going to be our author meet and greet. That's going to be on November 4th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. And we will have the pleasure of seeing J. Casper Kramer here at the King Family Library. She is the author of The Story That Cannot Be Told and The List of Unspeakable Fears, which we each have read one of those, and we're actually going to be doing an interview with her for a bonus episode.
So yeah, I guess if you guys, don't want to come and see authors and or have plans that weekend, we'll give you a little taste of what you're missing. So make sure, so the author showcase is going to be on November 5th. We're going to have more than just J. Casper Kramer here, though she is our like showcase author for this time. The event's free and it's open to the public, but we recommend have some cash on hand because these authors are going to be selling their books, and you might want to pick up some for Christmas presents or pick some up for yourself. I think I'm going to pick up a Kramer book for a Christmas present for a friend. But that time will be, the showcase starts at 10 to 1, and then from 1 to 2:30 we'll have an aspiring author session with J. Casper Kramer. So you'll be able to, I don't know if it's going to be a Q&A or if it's more of her just going to be like speaking about her experience, but it's going to be good. Like we had one of our conferences we went to, she was the speaker there during our lunch, and she was a really good speaker and talking about things, and her life was very interesting. So yeah, again, November 5th, author showcase, be there or be square, nerds.
Yes, and we do have a few closures for the month of November. The first one is obviously going to be Veterans Day. That is going to be November 11th, and all 3 branches will be closed.
We are also going to be closed for Turkey Day, or Thanksgiving holiday, as most people call it. It's going to be November 24th and 25th, so Thursday and Friday, but we will be open that Saturday, the 26th. So if you guys have some books you need to drop off or pick up some quick books for the rest of the week, we'll be there. I'll be there for sure.
Yeah, and I know it's not technically December, but it's very evident that our December podcast probably will not come out before the 1st of December, because that's just, not possible. So December 1st, we're actually going to be closing early. We're going to be closing at 5 p.m. that day, and that's in order to have a little retirement celebration for our genealogist, Tim Fisher.
So yeah, he's officially retiring in December, and our current, now she's technically current History Center. Lisa Christian, who was our cataloger, is now up here running the History Center. So fresh blood in the History Center.
Yes,
that's
true.
where we film. Come in, say hi. Speaking of, I'm going to skip a little bit on the script because we're on the History Center, but they are looking for material on the blizzard of 1993. So if you were alive and have memories from that time, you can come and do an oral interview, or if you have pictures or newspaper clippings or things like that of your family, or just, they would like to get some of that stuff in the records because we're coming up to the anniversary of that soon. So
yes, we are.
That's about, what, 30 years? Yeah, I think it's about 30 years. If it's not 30 years, I'm a librarian, not a mathematician. So, to jump back up, because this is awesome, I took Lana's section.
It's
Food for fines. So during November, if you have any late fees, you can bring in non-perishable food items. So like a jar of corn or vegetables or something like that, stuff you've had in your pantry that's still good, but you're like, I'm not going to eat this. You can give it to us, and we'll give it to somebody who needs it. But you can also bring 2 jars of peanut butter, or you can bring like 2 bags of non-perishable. This would be like rice or like beans or something like that. So it's a good way to clean out your pantry, but also like give to a good cause and get your library card fees waived. Of course, this does not count for books that you've lost or damaged. We'll have to get those paid for, but if it's just late fees, we've got you covered. Also, it's just, some people just bring stuff to be nice, and you can do that too. So
yeah, absolutely. And we did want to let you guys know, we do still have our story times going on. Our Don't Become Extinct story times are still happening at all 3 libraries. If you guys are interested in those and you don't remember the times, you can either go back to our last podcast episode, I know we discussed it, or you can check our website. It's also posted on all of our social media.
It's in those quarterly booklets we do, and then I think Wednesdays and Thursdays, off the top of my head, because I know we at KFL have 2, and then I can't remember when Kodak or Seymour's are, but generally around that time, and I think they're from 10:30 to 11:30. But yeah, definitely check your quarterlies or check on Facebook to get those times and stuff correctly, and they'll do things like go over a specific letter, or sometimes they go over a different language.
Mhm.
I know they do French. Do they do and sign language too? I think with
Yes,
ASL?
we've already had, I think, one story time this
Mhm.
past month using
So-
ASL.
So
But let's see what else we got going on. Oh yes, we did have a new book club at Kodak that we did want to highlight. So Kodak is having a YA authors book club. It's brand new, like I said, and it starts for teens this fall. They meet the 15th of this month from 4 to 5 p.m. and they will be discussing books by Kim Liggett.
So, and how that works is they can pick any book that Kim Liggett wrote for like YA, or like, for example, like John Green or something. You could do Looking for Alaska, or you could do
Paper
Towns.
Towns,
Like, you
yeah.
don't have to pick a specific book, just something by that author.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to be doing, and they're going to have a different author showcase for each month. Let's see here. So, we're going to move on to the meat and potatoes of this
The
podcast.
goods.
Guilty pleasure reads
And watches.
and watches.
Yeah.
So like things that society said are kind of like not so great, but that we greatly enjoy. And as I've gotten older, there's less that I've kind of been guilty about. I think
Yeah.
there's this movement to embrace the cringe.
Mhm.
Like, what are you gonna do? Make fun of me? I'm nearly 30. You can hurt my feelings, but then I can go watch my comfort movie.
And I think that's what a lot of people associate guilty pleasures with is comfort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's just because like it doesn't really matter to us. We still watch it or read it.
Like, and like, you know, everybody has different tastes. You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
And the PSA, we're not dragging on anybody's guilty pleasures.
Yeah, no.
We're actually, you know, wanting to celebrate it. And you know, if you want to talk about stuff like this to your friends, you can. If you don't have to. It's just one of those, it's okay. Like,
Yeah, the library is a place for everyone to find everything they need or want and to discover new things, to try out some different things. So you shouldn't feel guilty or ashamed of anything that you like or enjoy.
and you shouldn't feel guilty or ashamed of things like everybody likes that you
Yeah.
don't like. I can think of several authors off the top of my head that I'm like, I don't like that
Oh,
person.
yeah. Same.
And so, like, I had to refrain from putting Sarah J. Maas on my guilty pleasure list
Mhm.
because I really don't like what she writes. I enjoy one series she has, which is The Court of Thorns and Roses, and it's a great little series. It's got its moments where you're like, eye roll. But personally, I don't care for her writing style, but I enjoyed that story enough that I looked past it. And then she came out with a new one, Court of Silver Flames, and that one was a continuation of The Court and Thorn and Rose. Hated it. I could, like, a laundry list of reasons why I hated that book, but so yeah, you can even sort of have guilty pleasures of reading people you hate and don't like, and
Yeah, I never read anything by Sarah J. Maas, but I know there was so much when I was in high school, especially that like all of my friends who read were just like consumed with certain authors and certain things that were popular. I didn't really get into a lot of that. Like I never read the Hunger Games series.
have you still not read it?
Mm-mm. I still have it.
I liked the first book. The second book was confusing, and then I just hated the third book. I don't know if it was the pacing or what. Like, people, spoiler alert for you. Oh my gosh, Prim dies. That was the whole reason Katniss joined the Hunger Game. I didn't care. I really didn't at that point. I didn't care for either of the characters.
See, I watched the movies. It was just like the books and everything. Like I don't know. I think I was so into other things
Stuff,
at that age. Like when those books came out, I really just didn't care at the time. So that, and I think everyone kind of goes through a phase where it's like they kind of venture off the beaten path, which is important.
Okay, so to highlight some of our specifics, let's see here. I'll do one, you do one. You've got more than me. I think you've got 4 listed.
I have a lot of opinions.
Yeah. Like I said, I was having a really hard time. My friend mentioned the Barbie movies because I love the Barbie movies.
Oh, I love the Barbie movies.
And I was like, why would I cringe at those? Those are wonderful.
Oh my gosh, no. Princess and the Pauper.
I like
12 Dancing Princesses.
See,
fantastic.
That's one of the ones I haven't seen. I need to see it. But the one that haunts me, because it was around Thanksgiving. I was at my papa's house, and it was, I think, Barbie Island Princess.
Oh,
and
I love that
I was
one.
watching it, right? And then they turned the TV to watch football. And to this day, I don't know the ending of Barbie Island Princess, so I need
you
to.
poor thing.
I know. I gotta see if we have it at the branches, because I need to finish watching that. But my big 3
If
Barbies.
not, I own like all of them.
Oh, thank you.
So.
My big 3 is like Swan Lake, Rapunzel, and
Rapunzel's a big one for me.
oh, what's the other one? Swan Lake, Rapunzel. I'm forgetting the other one in the Holy Trinity. Oh no. Oh well, I'll think of it later.
It's okay. We'll swap Barbie movies later on.
I'll just shout it out in the middle. It's that one. Okay, so yeah, my first movie is Halle Berry's Catwoman, and everybody hates that movie. Halle Berry hates that movie. She says it like ruined her career for a time. 7-year-old me loved that movie. I had the Barbie. I had the Barbie in a collectible box. I loved that movie.
Wow.
I still really enjoy it. And I was like, what's wrong with her taking down a makeup corporation? Sure, she's not saving the world, but she's getting stuff done, and she saved her friend.
I mean, progress is progress, I guess.
And I'm sure her outfit was a little revealing, but come on, at least she had
it's
pants.
Catwoman.
Yeah, and at least she had pants. She wasn't like in a leotard.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Halle Berry gets a little bit of a pass. You know.
Yeah, and she just looked really good in that movie. But yeah, everybody, including Halle Berry, hates Catwoman, and I love it. That's my guilty pleasure.
Did you find the scores for that one?
Yes, I did. Rotten Tomatoes was 8%. But the audience score was 56. So apparently people in, like, a half, like, you know, if you took 10 people, 5 of them would have enjoyed Halle Berry Catwoman, statistically.
I think that may be, like, the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score I've seen in doing all of
lower. I mean, out of our list, no, but there are lower Rotten Tomato scores.
Oh, gosh. Well, I will go ahead and get my one book out of the way, because let's be honest, I feel like it is a series, which we have, if you're watching the video of this, you can see the third one in the series on display called The One, but it is the Selection series by Kira Cass, and I love this author with all of my heart.
She's wrote some good ones.
I mean, absolutely love it. The Siren, which was
right.
It was it was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but then she also has like a newer one called The Betrothed and The Betrayed. And see, I agree, those were kind of like not the best writing, and it could have been a lot better. But I'm just like so like enraptured, I guess, in the stuff she writes.
One of your writers.
Yeah, she's one of my writers. So if you've not read The Selection, I think it's amazing. It's basically like a mixture between The Bachelor and The Hunger Games. Yeah, is how it's basically described.
It's a dystopian YA.
Yeah.
Like basically, are there districts sort of? Because I know they bring a different girl from each area. And
it's kind of like that. I think it's. Oh my gosh, I'd have to go back and like look at the actual setup of the entire world, but
it's like they pick girls from different regions, or they can like audition sort of like the X Factor or something.
Yeah.
And they basically like go on basically the version of The Bachelor.
They're trying to.
Is he a king or is he a president? No, he's
a king.
Yeah, but but it's like a king in the United States, so he's basically the president.
Yeah.
So it's this weird like mixture of royalty in the U.S. So it's sort of like a softer version of the Hunger Games.
Yeah, and I mean the main character is named America, which
That's what it is. Yeah.
But it is really, really great in my personal opinion, and I honestly didn't think the Goodreads score was that bad. It got a 3.91 out of 5, and that's the average for all 5 books.
And most Goodreads books, I think, get a 3 or a 4. At least books I read. Even if I 5-star them, I notice that they're either like a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, I would agree.
One of my guilty pleasures, it's a standalone YA book. I don't even know if this author's wrote anything else. I've actually never looked for it. It's called To Catch a Pirate by Jade Parker, and it's like a really wholesome pirate read, like a pirate romance. And I think I judge myself for reading a pirate romance, and that's why it's my guilty. But like if I ever go to the beach, or I try to read it like once every couple of years around summertime. But yeah, it's basically like this girl, her dad's gonna be a governor of an island or whatever, and they get robbed by pirates, and then so her dad gets thrown in jail because it took like gold from the king or whatever, and then so she becomes a pirateer, an illegal pirateer, because women cannot be pirateers. She becomes a legal pirateer to go find the pirate who stole the stuff from her, and she finds one of the men who was on the ship who saved her life. It was he kissed her and took a ring, and the ring ended up being fake gold, and he got marooned because he did something stupid. And then she finds him later, and then they work together to find the real pirate to get the gold. And then, of course, he gets caught by the government because it's anti-pirating practices, and so it leaves you in a cliff. It resolves. And it doesn't even, like, it has some romance in it, but it's not even explicit. It's just implied romance. Like, it's a clean read. There might be a few curse words, but I would say it's a clean read.
That actually sounds kind of
I'll own it to you. It's not very thick. You could probably read it in a weekend. taking your time.
I may be stealing some recommendations from this list. Anyways, so on to movies. I have 3 movies on my guilty pleasures list. And I was so sad. Okay, when I was looking up some things that like society as a whole has deemed as a guilty pleasure, I was saddened by the fact that almost every single comfort movie that I have held on to throughout my entire life was basically on this list.
See, I'm surprised that you looked up what society thought people thought was guilty, because I just went off what I sort of had a little guilt for it, me as a person.
See, and there were a few things that I put down because of like my own recommendations, but then like I sat there and I was like just curious as to what other people thought, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I actually really like over half of these things. So I felt like I had to talk about some of them. One of them, though, that I will 100% say I am guilty of liking is Penelope.
That's the girl with the pig nose, right?
Yes.
I couldn't watch the movie because I saw like the CGI or whatever for her face, and I was like, I can't do that, or the prosthetic.
It's horrible, and honestly, I was like slightly terrified.
It's a little scary
by it as a kid, but I honestly loved it still, and like I always kept watching it. But the Rotten Tomatoes score for that was 53%, and the audience score was 73%.
So that's not. See, the audience agrees with you that it's honest. The critics are sometimes very critical, and hence the name. But no, it's even a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes isn't terrible.
I didn't think it was, but at the same time, like I remember growing up, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, you like that movie? That's horrible," and I was like, "I do like that movie. Thank you very much."
See, so I wouldn't judge you for liking that movie. I just would have been like, the movie scared me a little bit, and I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
One of my other guilty pleasures is this manga series called Devil's Line. I recently discovered it. Like a girl checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, what's this about?" And I flipped it over, and it was like about. It's like if you read manga, it's like Tokyo Ghoul meets vampires, but with romance, and it's a little smutty. And the plot doesn't the plot follows, but there's so many holes, and the main couple are together, and I'm like, why are you together? It doesn't make sense why you're together. So like I have like it's not a great literary wise, plot wise, it's not a great read. Am I having fun with it? I'm having fun with it. So I need to keep reading with the series because I read the first few, but yeah, it's probably a guilty pleasure. The average. Oh, I forgot to do. Back up a little bit. To Catch a Pirate, average Goodreads score is 3.76.
That's not bad.
Yeah, but it's not a well-known book either, and it's kind of older. And then Devil's Line, average good read for the series is 4.2. So
that's actually really good.
Yeah, I think it's because a lot of people like vampires. Like,
oh, that's true.
Like vampires, yeah.
Gotcha. So. Well, there are no vampires in my last 2 guilty pleasure picks, but there is a common denominator, and it is Anne Hathaway.
The queen!
And let's be honest, like, I absolutely love her as an actress. Like, The Intern is one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Is that the one with the old man?
Yes.
That was very heartwarming.
Yes, and I love it so much. But apparently, people just like to hate on the fact that she was a part of, like, every movie of, like, my childhood. So I have Ella Enchanted, which you did mention. It is a little bit more on, like, the campy side versus cringe.
It's like you put that on for a party and have a drinking game with it. Like, it's just one of those, like, it's a fun time.
Yeah. Well, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 50%. Could be a lot worse, let's be honest. And the audience score was 57%, so not much better. But I absolutely loved it, but I also know there was, like, so many people growing up that were just kind of like, the actual animation and everything is horrible. And I agree, it is. It's a little rough, but I think it's beautiful at the end of the day.
It is a little older, too, of the movie, so, like, all the we've come far with special effects.
Yeah. And my last one is The Princess Diaries 2.
Okay, is that the one with Chris Pine?
It is. And if you don't like Chris Pine, especially in this movie.
The Royal Wave. He learned that one. There was a meme going around when he did Into the Woods, and he was a prince in there, and he waved, and it's the exact wave he learned how to do in The Princess Diaries. Is this also where she has the sleepover where they, like, mattress surf?
Yep.
People hate this movie?
Yeah, and I think it's because, like, the first one even, a lot of people were just kind of like, it's not that great, but I actually really love the entire series.
Have you read the books?
I have not.
The books are completely different and completely amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll have to read them now.
We'll read them together, because I've been wanting to reread them, and they're not, like, that thick. You can,
We'll definitely have to do that. And the Rotten Tomatoes score on this one was 26%, audience score 59%. So I think the audience, at least, is kind of more on my side.
And it's hard and with sequels are generally rated lower than...
But honestly, I feel like I go back to The Princess Diaries 2 more often than I do the first one.
That's kind of how I am with Toy Story.
I would agree with that.
I really liked Toy Story 2, and I think A, it had Barbie in it, B, I was really intrigued by the airplane scene at the end.
Gotcha. Just a little interesting.
Yeah. I was mad speaking of sequels, I was mad to watch the newest Toy Story. Was it Toy Story 4?
Yeah.
That movie was a delight. I was mad.
I cried.
I was sitting next to my mom laughing. I was like, because I didn't want to watch it on principle, because the third one was supposed to be the last one.
Yeah.
And they came out with another one, and I was like, I'm not doing it. But we rented it or something, and Mom was sitting down and watching it. So I sat down to watch it with her. And I was probably literally turned around and go, I'm mad how good this is.
I know. Believe it or not, like, all of my friends decided to go see it when it came out in theaters. So, like, there was just, like, a big group of, like, these grown teenagers just watching, like, the little kids movie with, like, all these infants and parents. But honestly, we had such a fun time, and we all shed a tear at the very end.
Yeah, it was just a really good movie, and I hated how good it was. And then, what is it? What was his name? Sporky? What was the little...
Sporky. Oh, I love Sporky.
I thought he was going to be annoying. Loved him.
Same. I thought he was also going to be annoying, but honestly, 10 out of 10 character.
Yeah.
Great arc.
So this next section we had to edit. So it was called What Society Says is Bad, and it said what we agree is bad, but I changed it to what Launa says is bad because I disagree.
Alrighty. So what prompted the change here is Fangirl by Rainbow
Raoul? I can never say her last name.
Royale? I have no idea how you say it, but I'm sure
Raoul? Rainbow Raoul?
Probably. That sounds more right. She has several things. She has, I think Eleanor and Park is another one of hers.
I think that's by her. And then she has Fangirl. And in this book, briefly, it's about a girl who goes to college, and she was really big in this fan fiction community, which is basically the story she calls it, and there's Simon Snow. It's basically Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And it's a gay version of Harry Potter, even though in the book, in the canon series, those characters aren't gay for each other. She just makes them gay, which is a whole, like, why, it's not a Hawaii thing. It's a whole, like, AO3 thing. You can find that, like, on a lot of series. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that, because I can go on that forever.
Yeah.
But anyway, she wrote that series, and then she has 3 books based off of the fictional book, the Simon Snow series. I guess people liked it, so she made 3 books that were basically, I guess, Kath's fan fiction. And
I love the idea of that. Like, I love the idea of having a book, and then within that book having a character of yours, like, and then expanding on something that you kind of wrote as a subplot. Like, I love the idea. And I read it so long ago that I really probably should give it a second chance, but I'm just absolutely not going to.
See, I recently read that a couple years ago when I got out of college, and I write fan fiction, so I really enjoyed the idea of an adultish character writing fan fiction and learning not to be ashamed of it. And honestly, Levi in this is the best book boyfriend.
Okay,
he's up there with Darcy.
I will agree with that. I did really like Levi's character and how he treated her
so much. Yeah, because he's an ag student, so he's basically a farm boy who works at Starbucks because he needs health insurance, which I thought was funny. She's like, why Starbucks? He goes, one day you'll understand the importance of health insurance. And I felt that as like a 25-year-old person. And then but yeah, he never makes fun of her. Like, he might giggle a little bit, but he never really makes fun of her writing, and I think that's really wholesome. And I just want Levi.
Yeah, and I do agree with that part of it. I just remember, like, me trying to get through that book was absolutely agonizing when I read it years ago, and so I will not go back to it. But that's just a me thing. But I also know I have had some friends that said it was kind of overhyped, which I think is a really big thing nowadays.
I read it just so long after it was written.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with it as well. The other 2 things I put on this list, which are one other thing, sorry, which the Goodreads rating, by the way, on Fangirl was a 3.98 out of 5. That's actually a really great score.
Yeah.
But the other thing I listed is I did want to do a DVD, and I'm doing the 2017 Justice League, because I kid you not, I have tried so many times to watch it all the way through. I fall asleep every single chance.
I have never watched it, and I didn't play it too. So.
Okay, well, you're safe then.
Yeah.
The Rotten Tomatoes score on that was a 39%. audience score was a 68. Honestly, I think that 68% is a little generous.
Probably Jared Leto.
Yeah, probably. Let's be honest.
Well, he was really furious because he got cut out of most of that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But Joker with the grill, I just couldn't do. I was like,
I don't know. It was just Yeah, I think you mean Suicide Squad. Jared Leto was not in the Justice League.
DC.
It is still DC, but still, Justice League, has, Ezra Miller.
And that's the person that's got all those kidnapping charges.
Yes, you would be correct
with that.
Yeah, we'll have to do some research on that, get a little update. But
leave us that in the comments.
But yes, so the 2017 Justice League, which I know they did the Snyder's director's cut after that, after like years of begging, and I still, I would agree the Snyder's cut's better, but I still just could not finish Justice League. So, that's just my little...
Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Because that was I saw Wonder Woman. I haven't seen Wonder Woman 2, so I think it came out... Was that before or after Wonder Woman? Did she get her start in Justice League, or was it in...
I want to say it came out before Justice League, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole side story.
Yeah, it's a whole side story. Yeah. I realized as I was picking up these books, usually Launa grabs the books, but I was grabbing the books today, and I noticed a lot of the things I was picking up were female teenage oriented, and I'm like, that's kind of sad that a lot of those are cringe and they're just by female, because I was like, I'm not picking up Percy Jackson, I'm not picking up Harry Potter, I'm not picking up Chaos Walking, love that book, but I'm not picking up things written by men, and it seems, and I was trying to think, a lot of the authors I think of YA tend to be women, and not always, but tend to be, and then tend to write somewhat for women, and this is about a girl who writes fan fiction about, Anne Hathaway and being a princess and just being goofy, and we're gonna ignore this one. And then this one's about, women taking down a dystopian sort of worldview sort of way. There's rebels and stuff involved, and women in marriage. And this is and stuff we enjoy is stuff people are like, that's so cringe, that's so bad. And same goes with women reading romance novels,
that's
Julia
true.
Quinn and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people if you go to the romance section of Books a Million and stuff like that, you kind of...
You're looking around, making sure no one's looking at you.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to be judged, and that's not fair to be judged on content people thoroughly enjoy. Is it good content? Debatable. And you can argue the merits of if you think something's good writing or bad writing. Yeah. But just to outright point out, it felt weird. I was picking up these things, and I'm like, these are all women.
Well, that, and I do think women are kind of more critical, and they're more criticized, in my opinion. I think we tend to be a little bit more... I don't want to say judgmental, but at the same time, I think we have a little bit higher standards.
Well, I'm going to pause. So, we are judged, and I think we have judgment ingrained on us.
Yes.
Because, even with the Catch a Pirate, I was like, I'm kind of ashamed to be reading a pirate romance, because society would make fun of me for it being a romance book. It's not a bad book. I enjoy it. So, I think we have a lot of ingrained stuff that society has said, and some of it's perpetuated by women. But some of it's perpetuated by men, and we're not going to get into a feminist talk because this isn't a feminist course in college. Yeah. But it's just one of those things to note that some of the media we're being critical of for being guilty pleasure and liking is written by women for women, and same sort of with fan fiction too. With AO3, people are supposed to be guilty over being caught reading it, and sometimes you are just because what's in it, it's really.
Oh yeah, I mean I had friends in high school that wrote fan fiction that was on things that you would never really think of, and I remember reading a few of those, and I was just I'm not entirely sure, but at the same time I would never judge anyone for writing that, because I think everyone finds something in everything, if that makes sense. I don't really know, but yeah, it is odd. You do see a lot of patterns, and I do think with YA books specifically, more people read that age group.
And there's also, I think, a stigma against, especially if you're an adult reading YA.
Yeah.
Me and Launa read a lot of YA, and that's why a lot of our picks are YA or children. But we read some adults, but and there's occasionally where I do get tired of YA, and it's just simply because I need it written to a higher level, either plot wise or just character wise. And that's just, I think, a little bit with growing up. Yeah. But the books themselves aren't necessarily bad. It's just not what I need right now as a person.
Yeah.
But that's a different argument. So, but I think a lot of times, like, there was a man the other day who came through and he wanted to read Aragon, and I was like, oh, it's in the teen section. And you can kind of see, like, I don't want to go in the teen section, and it's like there's plenty of good series. Ben would disagree with Aragon, but Aragon's a good series.
Oh gosh, I think everyone's had that argument with Ben before.
Yeah, but you know what society says is bad that is bad? The Aragon movie.
Okay, that is a guilty pleasure though, because that guy is so cute. Like, I mean, so cute.
Yeah.
Actor, 1,000 out of 10.
Yeah, but as
the movie, I understand it's horrible, but I will love it till the day I die.
Okay, here's another one that society says is bad that is actually bad. Avatar, not the blue people. Avatar: The Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan. That was the biggest waste of time, and I watched that movie for free. It was like for free on direct movies or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I heard it was bad. I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. It was that bad. But
well, I think that leads into our last little section on Hallmark. Because I really don't think you can talk about like cringy and like guilty pleasure movies without mentioning Hallmark
or
Lifetime. Just because, I mean, let's be honest, they are really bad.
They are.
They're 100%
and they're
poorly written.
Their Christmas movies are on a whole nother level.
Oh my gosh!
And we were talking about this off camera earlier, where we were like, I'm trying to remember. We were just trying to come up with guilty pleasures,
like especially like specific titles.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And I could only remember one Hallmark movie's title.
Same here.
Same when they were both Christmas movies. And my favorite one was Holiday in Handcuffs that came out in like 2007. And I actually watched it last year with my mom. And as I was watching, I go, a lot of this wouldn't fly now. A lot of this isn't great. Like, the story's pretty weak. But you know what? It's one of my favorite Christmas movies.
And mine was The 9 Lives of Christmas, which is just absolutely fantastic.
What is that about?
Okay, so it's basically like this woman, which I can't remember her profession. I think she's like flipping this house or something like that. But she ends up having some odd interaction with a firefighter, and they like bond over a cat, if that makes sense. Like, I really don't remember the plot, even though I've seen it a million times, because let's be honest, it's forgettable.
Yeah.
But 1,000% would recommend. Like, I absolutely loved it.
There was, with Holiday in Handcuffs, the plot of it is that it's like a girl down on her luck, or like boyfriend / fiance. I think he's just her boyfriend, breaks up with her, doesn't want her to show her to his family, and she works at a diner. She had a really bad perm at the very beginning of the movie, and there's this whoever the guy, he's played by Mario Lopez, which the cover on the movie isn't a very good photo of Mario Lopez. He's much more handsome in the movie. I'm plugging that in right there, but anyway, so he is a separate person at the diner, gonna propose to his uptight, rich fiance or whatever. And before he can do that, the main girl takes him and kidnaps him and takes him up to her family for the Christmas, because she told him she was gonna bring their boyfriend, and she didn't want to be another disappointment loser, because so many stuff, like, a bunch of stuff had happened. Like, she missed her job interview her parents had set up for and stuff like that, and she wanted to be an artist or something. Anyway, and he gets there and he's like, she kidnapped me, and they all were laughing, thinking it's one of those jokes, you know, like, oh yeah, we don't
oh yeah, the old ball and chain.
Yeah, and they just literally think it's that, and he's like trying to convince, but then he turns on her and goes, I'm gonna make your family love me, and then so
that's a great character arc.
Yeah,
I love that.
But it continues on with more of the movie, but that's the gist of the movie. You'll have to watch it at holiday time.
100%. Well, I do think that kind of brings the discussion to an end. We will definitely be watching some Hallmark movies now. And
probably rereading Princess Diaries and...
Oh, 1,000%. Trading some Barbie movies. I think I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Barbie!
So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this discussion. I know we're trying to really, get some more, like, societal point of view. Commentary, yeah. But also just kind of introducing some things that we like, some things we maybe don't like as much.
And some stuff you might not have heard of and think are, interesting. And just because our opinions on stuff, it's not... Like I said, I hate Sarah J. Maas. She's like one of the most popular writers. Even before Book Talk blew her up, she was super popular. And it's just one of those, she's not for me.
Yeah. So it happens.
Yeah, and like how you like Kiera Cass, and Kiera Cass is fine to me, but I love Marissa Meyer. She's like my Insta-Buy feel-good author. So I just pre-ordered her newest book.
So yeah, basically we all have a lot of differences with our preferences in movies, books, what we like to listen to. So don't be ashamed of anything, even if you do think it's considered a guilty pleasure. I think we've kind of, bared our hearts and souls out to you guys today.
If I can look Ben straight in the eye and tell him I like Aragon, you guys can like your guilty pleasures.
And maybe this past Halloween, he'll just go around haunting some people who like Aragon. We'll see. I don't know.
Ben, do you have any guilty pleasures?
Not Aragon.
I know, but like anything you're like, not great, but I'd still enjoy.
I really like the Fablehaven books, even though they're written for children. I really enjoyed them, and I still enjoy them.
Thank you, Ben.
I feel like that deserves some snaps.
That was a moment. That was a moment.
That was a moment.
Bravery, Ben.
Alrighty, guys. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, thank you, Ben, for making our lives more interesting and a lot easier.
And then stay tuned next time for our bonus podcast. And
yes, with Kramer.
December, I think we're having Jessica up to read some children's tales.
Yes, we will be highlighting the Children's Center a little bit and some holiday feel-good stories.
I kind of wanted to read Polar Express, but I know it's overdone. But that's a movie that's scary that I love. Like your version with Penelope.
That's true.
The puppets. Anyway, we may or may not talk about Polar Express in the next episode.
But yeah, so we hope you guys enjoyed and have a great day.
Bye.